so I can see if
Speak,
Vanette, can you hear me?
speak. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I still cannot hear anybody. Okay,
Vanette, is your,
it's happening.
Okay, we are recording and live on YouTube because we are at quorum. But we're gonna give ourselves a minute here to make sure we get Vanette's sound figured out. Vanette, I see you on here still. Let's see if you're in the. Hi, Martinique. We are working on some sound issues with Vanette, but we are recording live on YouTube while we are about to get started.
Can you hear me? All right. Can you
Yeah.
speak? All right. I'm leaving my other computer. Don't know what's going on there.
Why do you have two computers?
My work computer, which is what I was on, and I'm just switched to my personal computer.
Aha.
Just got to get it situated in the right spot. All right. Good morning, everyone. Sorry about that.
Good morning.
Do we have quorum?
We do.
All right. I called the meeting to order. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda for today?
I move we approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
sorry, Vanette, we're gonna have to do a roll call just because we're online today.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. Okay, hold on, I need to reconfigure my screen so I can actually see everyone. Okay. Cindy Brown,
Aye.
Martinique Freed,
Here.
Bruce Newby,
Good morning.
Katie Noonan,
Aye.
Melissa Lazarus.
I'm here.
Did I miss anyone? Okay. We've had a motion to approve the agenda. I was seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, wonderful. We can move on.
Vanette, I'm sorry, we actually need to do a roll call vote. People can't vote aye on the online meeting, so you have to go one by one and everybody has to say yay, nay, or abstain.
Oh, okay, for each motion.
For each vote, yes.
Okay, so let's go back. We're gonna do this the right way. All right, so do I have a motion to approve the agenda for today?
I move that we approve the agenda.
Okay, do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Newby, what is your vote?
Aye.
Let's see, I'm just going through. Melissa, what is your vote?
Aye.
Katie, what is your vote?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the March meeting?
I so move.
Thank you, Cindy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Martinique. Mr. Newby,
Aye.
Katie,
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Okay, all approved. Wonderful. Okay, we can move on to the leadership report.
Appreciate that cute picture first.
Yeah.
All right, go for it, Rachel.
All right, so we
Who's
are
that?
still, can you hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We are still in the process of park testing, but we have had a lot of celebrations, a lot of build up, a lot of hype around park to get kids engaged. Who you're looking at right now is Ms. Brown, one of our pre-K teachers, who was, our theme was the circus. And so Ms. Brown was the MC for the pep rally that we had. So that was May 5th. The kids had an awesome time. They potted teachers. They literally just did everything you could possibly do in the gym with just for events and toys. And it was just a really good time. Then we started park testing. Park testing is now over. 5th and 8th grade taking the science test this week. But for the most part, the majority of the school is done park testing and the majority of the school is done math testing. So the data that you're going to look at in a minute around math, that is current. K Step Up program is going to be June 21st. We have a pre-K Step Up program and a kindergarten Step Up program. We're not calling it a graduation. It's a Step Up program, but we want parents to come in the building, see everybody, see the classrooms, take pictures, put it on their Instagram to promote Perry Street. So we are having these events really for parents so that they are connected to the school. Spirit Week, our favorite time of the year, our favorite 2 weeks of the school will be June 5th through 9th. And, you know, where kids have the opportunity to dress funny, they play games and do all of these fun things during Spirit Week. Our last day of school is June 22nd, which teachers will be cleaning up, breaking down towards the end of the school year. We're almost there. But the last day is the 22nd. So we are really preparing for that and getting kids ready for the last day of school. Park is over and we have a month left and we don't want to lose that kind of instruction. So we are now talking to the teachers about what the last month of school looks like for them. Because it feels like when park is over and when math testing is over, their school is over. But it's actually not. We have a lot of time to do skills and get kids knowing like the prerequisite skills they need to know for next school year and all of that good stuff. So that's what we're currently working on.
Rachel, is there an opportunity for board members to visit the school like during Spirit Week? Is there any role that we can play during some of these end of year activities?
Do you guys want to come to pajama day dressed in pajamas? That would be amazing. Could you imagine if all the board members came and everyone had on pajamas? I can definitely give you all the dates where you all can come see exciting things happening. We have a lot of them coming up in the future. So we can let you all know when Spirit Week is, what we're doing during Spirit Week, when the K Step Up, pre-K Step Up, all of the events that we're going to have. I can shoot you all an email after this, just outlining when they are and what time they are, so you can feel free to pop up at any time. Also, aside from the events that we're having, you're more than welcome to come to the school at any moment. Just email us and tell us you're on your way, and we will make ourselves available to make sure you all get a tour, make sure you're in and out of the classroom and you see what's happening at Perry Street. So if you want to do that at any time, just let us know and we'll make sure we make ourselves available. So for 8th grade celebration, it looks a little different than pre-K and kindergarten. Yeah, this is actually a promotion. In 8th grade, they're leaving to go to high school. So we're doing it big for them. So they're going to do a mural for us to leave their legacy. They're going to be decorating graduation caps. There's going to be an 8th grade luncheon where they have to dress to impress. We've been trying to get students to understand what dress to impress means. It doesn't mean like your favorite Jordans. which all the kids are like, can we wear our favorite sneakers? And we're like, well, we kind of want to do the dress up a little more than that, but this would be an opportunity for kids to like really get dressed up in suit and ties. We have a program at the school where one of our social studies teachers, he's teaching the boys how to tie ties, and it's a mentorship program. So we expect the boys to be like in ties, just really dressed and professional. Trip to King's Dominion, we do this every single school year. The 8th grade will be going to King's Dominion. Our promotional ceremony is June 14th. So they actually get out about a week before everybody else, which is fine. That's how it's been historically. So those are our 8th grade events that will be happening starting June 5th. So they're looking forward to that. We're also looking forward to that. And we're also looking forward to promotion. This is one of our graduating classes that have been with us since the beginning. And I believe when me and Kelly first started, they were in 2nd grade. So we've seen them grow from 2nd graders to 8th graders. And it has been like an amazing journey just to watch them grow and learn. So we're super excited about this graduating class because they're kind of like our first babies. And when they came to 2nd grade initially, the class was very challenging until we replaced a teacher, Miss Knight, who is now our 6th grade teacher. And then she shaped the class up. And so ever since that class has been traveling from year to year, we always remember them as the 2nd graders who were challenging at first until we were able to replace the teacher. So they also hold a special place in our hearts because we have so much history with them. So that'll be exciting. Kelly, I can do this if you want me to. Are you gonna?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute there.
Okay.
So summer, what a cute picture there. We have a lighter summer until we find out more information about grants. Right now, we've applied to 2 separate grants we've not found out about to see how extensive we'll be able to fund some summer programming. At a minimum, we'll be offering high impact tutoring for our students who are in danger of retention because of academic performance, and extended school year for students with special education services. It'll be from July 5th to 28th, and they'll have an hour of math and an hour of ELA, and then the option to participate in the rest of the day, which is enrichment camps, either with Hoop Ed, who we've worked with for many years, or Mommy's TLC, which does more STEM activities, and will accept vouchers for families that we're not paying for through our tutoring program. But we will have about a week off in between wrapping up classrooms and starting for our summer programming. And then we're ready to cruise right into the school year. Rachel, do you want to talk about priorities?
Absolutely.
Team.
Absolutely. So next school year, we are talking about it right now, especially around curriculum. We are sitting down with teachers to figure out what is the best curriculum for students. I know we're trying to figure out specifically the math curriculum for grades 3 to 8. We are still using illustrative mathematics, but we want to supplement that with something that the teachers are more comfortable with. So they are suggesting that we also use Eureka Math to bring in some of those practice activities. In math in grades 3 to 8 next year, we are really going to be skill building and like getting kids to practice. What we're finding this school year is that while kids are learning concepts and kids are doing a good job with those concepts and teachers are struggling to teach it because it's so high level, we are not allowing students enough time to practice. And so we're building a schedule right now that gives students an hour of instruction and then an hour of just straight up practice and skill building. And I'm learning those basic things they need to know to grasp and understand those big concepts. So 3 to 8th grade math will look different next year in hopes that with the kids practicing, they'll build their stamina and build their work habits so that they understand like to keep going and to not stop and like practicing multi-step problems where they literally cannot give up. What we're noticing is when the problems have 2 or 3 steps, students start off right with the first step. Some get to the second step. You get to the third step because we're losing stamina. So we're trying to build that next school year, build that into our schedule where students have an opportunity to build their stamina and practice so that our math scores will go up. And so we'll see academic outcome from the hard work that the students are doing. Master schedule. We are working on the master schedule. If one thing I've learned from Alexandra is that everything lives in your master schedule. The success and literally what you do, what your goals for the school year, they all live in the master schedule. So we are we are working on the master schedule right now. We're trying to do it in a way where students have, and I just mentioned this, but where students have a 2-hour block where the first hour they will be learning grade level content, every single student, grade level content with the general education teacher and a special education teacher. And now that second block is where we're trying to get our bang for our buck. We want students to practice skills. So we're trying to model that all over the school building so that everyone has the opportunity to get in that intervention, from math and ELA actually. Small group instruction, this goes back to the schedule. We're creating a schedule where students are able to receive grade level content for an hour. And then the next hour, students will literally be broken up into small groups all over the building, meaning the specialists will take their kids, the students with disability teachers will take their kids, the interventionists, they'll take their kids. And then what's left in the classroom is a small group for the teacher. So literally the whole school will be in a small group for that second hour of the day. Working with the teacher on skills, practicing, pre-work for the standards that they're going to learn the next day. But we're trying to build into the schedule opportunities for kids to practice those basic skills and making sure those are solid. Staffing, so increased student intervention with robust schedules. We have already started that. We actually started that this school year. We have interventionists now who are pulling kids around the clock, some excellent interventionists who are seeing great results on MAP. So that actually has been working for us this school year. What we're trying to tweak is what the students with disabilities and student support looks like. We want them to have a more solid schedule. Right now, they're pulling kids, depending on where the kids are. If they're in specials or enrichment, they pull them from there. If they're wherever they are, but we want to make it a literally a schedule where teachers know, like from 9 to 12, I have these 5 kids every single day, and we're going to be in such and such room. And we want to make it so that when the leadership team is in the building looking, doing observations, we know exactly where everyone is and everyone knows exactly where they are. So we're trying to tighten up the schedule a bit to increase effectiveness, if that makes sense.
Before I keep cruising, does anybody have questions for Rachel? No? Okay. So Rachel mentioned this staffing. We are actually not changing any staffing positions, but we just hope to fill vacancies that we had this year. As of right now, we've got 91% of our current staff returning. We have 2 non-returning and 2 non-renewals. And 10% of our positions are unfilled. So we are actively recruiting with interviews and outreach and trying to figure out anything we can to bring in some great teachers. Our open positions right now are in math and special education. And we're hopeful. We're better off than we were last year, because when we were updating these slides, we were looking at last year's slides from this time and we had 17 positions open. So I'm actually feeling really positive. I didn't expect for that comparison to be so stark. In terms of compliance and procurement, we have got 2 items that I would like votes on, which one, we do not yet have a vendor selected, but I have a total for you that it won't exceed. And we have an RFP out, which is for student and staff Chromebooks. It's an annual purchase that we make to replace our fleet that's expiring and staff computers for the same process. The other contract that we should vote on is Mommy's TLC. So they are one of the providers that we brought in this winter when we closed down our aftercare grant funded program. We committed with them to provide scholarships for families who had a gap in their ability to pay prior to them receiving vouchers approval. So we are still in the voucher approval process right now for mommies, which means that the state will pay students' childcare costs. And we've got parent contributions happening, but there has been a much bigger gap than we anticipated when we initially budgeted. And it is looking more like $10,000 a month that we're spending. Now, what you'll see when we get to a budget is that we're still at a balanced budget. We have found this money and moved things around, but they are what we call an emergency procurement. So it's not something that went out to bid, but it is something that did not intend to go over $25,000, but it is looking like by the end of July, we will likely be over $25,000 to this vendor, just in those parent scholarship pieces. So that's like the piece of the puzzle that we're paying with mommies right now. But we've had good momentum. They've had a visit from a childcare licensor, which means that we should have information on when parents can start receiving payment vouchers from the state very soon. Our renewals are up that we don't need a vote on are with EdOps, Busy Bee, Roots Landscaping, and Genuine Foods. So those are all vendors that we've used for multiple years and we've had very positive experiences with. They've stayed on budget and met all of our expectations. So those are renewals that we anticipate. And then upcoming, so when we meet likely in June or August, we'll have votes on additional contracts or renewals for our special education services and the renewal of our 10 Square contract. Do people have any larger scale compliance or procurement questions before we bring those first two to a vote?
I'm just curious, where did the old Chromebooks go?
So we keep them honestly until they die. So we will keep them as backups. And then we have a recycling program. All of the vendors will recycle for you. So basically, whoever we select, we make sure that's part of the contract that we have, that we can get them to recycle Chromebooks that are no longer working. So past our three, so what we do is we've been purchasing all of them and it's been a very good system lately with 3-year warranty contracts. So for 3 years, we can get them repaired, fixed, and back up and running. And, you know, that is also like the capitalized limit on a computer right now. And then after that 3rd year, we will keep them in our fleet until they no longer are working. And then it doesn't make sense for us to continue making repairs and they go in our recycle pile. But we have close to 900 computers right now in our fleet because we've got about 350 for students at any one time at school. And then we will send them home for our entire middle school and then for any parents who request them at home. And then we need a very large group of backups because our IT guy is truthfully every single day swapping out a computer to make repairs or updates or figure out what's going on a school computer. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Yeah, staff computers, we've got Apple, we've got Macs, and we made that change 3 years ago. So this is going to be our first kind of retirement of non-warranted Macs. We've had very high success rates with them getting cared for, repaired, and doing really well. I think our teachers really like having a more sophisticated computer to use. But we've had new staff members join, so we need to expand how many we have. And we also have just some that will need to be retired and make new purchases for.
Ellie, have you seen any like change in the approach among other schools about how they're dealing with sort of electronics now that we're back in person completely, or you think this is sort of an ongoing policy?
That's a good question. I think a lot of us are actually trying to figure out how we dial back the use of technology because kids are not practicing enough still by hand and writing by hand. But every school has realized that like they need a full fleet for every student. It doesn't make sense for us to be doing shared carts. We just want like that flexibility and autonomy in every classroom. And then the home computers, I would say like most schools have increased like us. They've realized like how helpful it is to have a computer that you can support and you can manage remotely for kids who are doing homework or doing extra practice. I think before the pandemic, there were a few schools I knew of in DC that were what we call 2-to-1. So a computer at home, a computer at school. And all I hear more and more is that it's the model that most schools are doing because we don't want kids transporting them. We don't want computers on buses. We don't want the damage that kind of ensues with that or any impact on our learning during the day. So when kids are bringing them home, if they don't bring them back, then they can't participate potentially in the lesson the next day. But our parent demand has also decreased because we don't have lots of computer-based homework that any kid really under 5th grade needs to be doing. So we don't have a full fleet for like our elementary school going out to homes, which we did during the pandemic. Okay, so then I guess I would just ask that you guys make a vote on those two contracts. I think we have to go through each person. And we can do them together if you want to, so you can be voting on both of them unless there are other concerns or people who want to talk about them separately.
Okay, if there are no other questions, do we have a motion to approve procurement contracts?
So moved. This is Katie.
Wonderful. Do we have a second?
Second,
All right, was that Melissa that seconded?
Martinique.
Oh, it was Martinique, sorry. Wonderful. Mr. Newby,
Aye. Yes.
Melissa,
Aye.
Katie.
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved.
All right. So this is another priority slide and talking about what we're working about this summer. We'll still go a little more into some of these finance pieces and enrollment just after this. We don't have to go through every one of these items, but it is good for people just to see on a regular basis and clip of kind of like what this process looks like for the school. We are finalizing our budget, which we'll look at more closely in a minute. We are writing a lot of grants right now and trying to find additional funding for some of our out of school time programming. We'll do a lot of compliance work this summer, and we'll review and make sure that we're ready for our charter review in the fall. We've got facilities work happening this summer. So we have 8 additional bathrooms that are now getting renovated as the second half of our bathroom renovation project. And we'll be moving around. Was that a question? All right. If not, I'll keep going. We'll be moving around classrooms and making some reconfigurations as we typically do every summer. From a human resources standpoint, we will be filling vacant positions and adjusting our pay scale based on the final numbers we get from educator pay with the DC government funding. And then in the summer, we also renew all of our benefits and enrollments. So short-term, long-term, health, dental, vision, all kind of our auxiliary benefits, transportation benefits that go to staff get renewed in the summer and then re-rolled back out to our staff. We'll also be working really closely and from the operations standpoint on enrollment, communication systems, as we're going to make a couple shifts and work on some increased information on our website and better school broadcasting system. And then we'll be doing a lot of year-end data validations. So our data team, falls under operations a lot when it comes to, in June, we'll probably have 30 submissions that we need to make. And or data that will validate between OSSI and the PCSB as we wrap up the school year. Our finance committee met yesterday and we reviewed that year-to-date finances are on track with our budget, just as we have met the last several months. While we saw some losses in revenue, we were able to mitigate those with other savings and increased funding for special populations. So we anticipate that we'll be able to get our grants reimbursed for now that everything has been approved as of Monday from OSSI, our federal grants, and to hope to have all those received and on track with our budget by our June 30th financial close. Okay, so what you saw in the live binder was a draft budget presentation that we have summarized here. We are not ready to vote on the budget as we typically would in May because the DC Council has not finalized a vote on a very large piece of the budget, which is this educator pay. So without that final approval or really any tangible knowledge about how much money we're going to be getting from DC Council, we have to wait on a final approval for our budget. We have done a full modeling of every other expense, and we have made all of our anticipated student levels, staff levels, and other spending with a positive net income and a positive year-end cash position. So we're feeling really good about what our financial model looks like for next year. We are in a fortuitous position than many other schools because luckily the loss of ESSER funding has not completely derailed our budget, which it has for a lot of folks. We spread that out over time, and luckily we've had a little growth over time too to help us increase our revenues while the federal funding after the pandemic went down. Any money that comes in now in excess of what we've already budgeted will go exclusively to educator pay. So we won't see any of our other expenses or revenues change when we vote on June 22nd. So it will be good for you to look through those budget slides to make sure you're familiar and you don't have questions. But what we'll give you the update with over email is how much money we're getting and how that's going to be disseminated to our educators. And because salaries are the biggest piece of our budget, it has a huge impact on what the numbers look like and what you approve. So we don't want to try to do an approval and then an amendment after the fact. So our proposal is that we will meet virtually on June 22nd with the board solely for a financial vote. Does anyone have small questions, big questions about the budget, questions about the materials that they received previously? Okay, if not, I will be sending out more information as soon as we have finalized numbers, and I'll do another summary and a full budget that goes out over email to everyone to make sure people really are familiar with what we're approving. And then we'll hop online on June 22nd for a vote. This is just a review slide to remind everyone we are in our second year of the bathroom investment. So we approved last year in our budget a 2-year, and that's not something we have typically done. So we just want to make sure everybody remembers that we're making an investment that happened this fiscal year, next fiscal year in updating our building. What we anticipate in the FY25 investment proposal is going to be some updates to our outdoor learning space. And I'll hopefully even have some updates for you in June potentially, but that's what hopefully you'll be hearing from me all next year about is what funding is looking like, what investments and what grants we have to really do a big improvement outside of our building in the back play yard. This picture just made me laugh. It's right behind me too, if you guys can see that. This is the picture behind me, and then the student that it is, you can see right there, and he's in this picture. He's in 8th, or he's not in 8th grade yet. He's in 7th grade.
7th.
Yeah.
I was totally waiting for this slide, Kelly, so I could tell people.
Okay, sorry, you go.
No, you got it.
It just made me laugh as soon as I saw it.
All right, guys. So we talked about this a little before. The academic overview. So this is huge for us and what we're focusing on for next school year to make sure we nail this. We met with our 10 Square team, Kelly and myself, to talk about just curriculum and like all the different curriculum that we use in the school. So one thing we addressed was the 6th through 8th Amplify curriculum. We were trying to decide if we wanted to keep Amplify or move in a different direction, but one of our 10 Square coaches, who is an expert in ELA, has worked with Amplify curriculum for a long time and like strongly suggested that we stick with Amplify. So we scratched that. We're keeping Amplify. We're actually keeping illustrative mathematics as well, but we are supplementing that with some Eureka math and some drill and kill activities to make sure students are practicing. Everything else we've used before, pretty straightforward. One thing we changed because we are new to pre-K this year, because we separated with Apple Tree and now we're using a creative curriculum. McCaskill, our assistant principal over pre-K, is doing an excellent job making sure teachers are using a curriculum, making sure that teachers are okay and comfortable with what with the curriculum period, because what we're finding, or what we found in the past, is some teachers were uncomfortable with certain curriculums. So we just want to make sure everyone's on the same page. And so these are the different curriculums we're using for next school year for sure.
And also, Rachel, we'll send this out over email. Some of the work of the academic committee reviewing was just creating this overview. So just like we have a financial overview, you guys have an academic overview that you can reference anytime as a board. And I'll show you there's another governance docs that's going to link you to all of these pieces, just in the vein of some of our board education and people asking for, where do I find this when someone asks me as a board member? You know, someone says, what is the curriculum your school uses, that you have a tool and a resource to go back to. All
right, so don't want to do what? Kelly, did you say something?
No, I just saying go for it.
Okay, sorry. All right, so for our charter goals, next year is a big year for us. Is this our second charter renewal together? I think we've done it. We've done it before. I can't remember if I've done it twice or once, but next year is a big year for us. We have goals that we have to meet. So we can meet our goals in one of three ways for our charter review. We can either exceed PSP outcomes for 21-22 school year, meaning whatever we got in 21-22, we either need to meet that or exceed it. We are trying to exceed all of our goals for 21-22. So that was one. Meet or exceed the sector average for 22-23. And you can see on the chart, like the state averages, the goal for the state averages, and then or meet or exceed state averages for 22-23. So let's walk through this chart really quick. So if you look at the 3 to 8 math median, and the median is the number right in the middle. So if you line up all the scores for all the kids, they pick the number smack dab in the middle to determine what our percentile is. So for example, if you see for 2021, our percentile was a 54. Now the state average was a 50. We right now, year to date, have a 55. So we exceeded that goal by 1 point in 3 to 8 math. If you look at 3 to 8 reading, we were at a 49% last school year, and this school year we're at a 49.5%. Now we exceeded that goal by 0.5, which we're comfortable with because we've exceeded the goal. So the goal was to meet or exceed our last score. We were able to do that. Park, we just took it to determine, but K-2, and I'm going down the list just to explain what we did in every single category, but K-2 math, math, the last year we got a 59.5. The goal was 50 for the state, but our goal was to beat 59.5, where we came in at 64. So we exceeded that goal a lot. And then in K-2 reading, last year we came in at 52.5. This year we're at 67%. So that's another goal. So K-2 math and reading, thank you whoever's highlighting that on the chart. So K-2 math and reading were highlights for us. We were able to exceed those goals. And then if you scroll all the way down to, well, let me talk about re-enrollment first. So right now, as it stands, we have not met our re-enrollment goal. We are re-enrolling kids left and right. We are doing posting on Instagram, outreach, trying to get as many kids in here as possible for the for enrolling. But Kelly can speak more on the re-enrollment goal and where we stand. But if you if you look down at class, emotional support and instructional support, this is one area where we were not concerned, but we had our eyes on because this is our first year alone as Perry Street is running pre-K 3 and pre-K 4. We were just wondering what the data was going to look like because these are all brand new teachers at Perry Street. And so we got a 6.14 in emotional support last school year. This school year, we got a 6.38. So we grew in our emotional support lever on class. And just to be clear, class is a observation tool where visitors come in and they observe our pre-K 3 and pre-K 4 programs. And the 3 categories they're looking for are emotional support, instructional support, and classroom organization. So for instructional support, we were at a 2.94 last school year. And then this time, right now, we are at a 3.14. So we also grew in those categories as well. Re-enrollment is the one we're looking at right now to figure out like how we're going to meet that goal. We plan to meet the goal, but we're just trying to be strategic on how we meet that goal. So overall,
clarify. So the re-enrollment is actually a measure that is from last year into this year. And so the way that that is going to move is not by keeping any more kids, but we had a very large portion of children after the pandemic leave our school, but also leave our district. So we still have about 12 to 15 kids that will really move that number that are not in a DC school. And we know that. because they don't come up in any of the DC data systems. But it means they're in a Maryland or a private school. And we are still working with our enrollment team to figure out what schools those kids are in so that they can get removed from the denominator. What we get rated on in re-enrollment is how many kids leave our DC school and go to another DC school. And so we've got some kids we did have a high mobility year. I just want to say that from what I hear, it's every school, not coming into this year, but coming into last year. So the first year out of the pandemic, really in full-time school, nobody moved. And then we had a very large influx of mobility that next year. So most of the kids are actually younger students, which was interesting too. We retained a lot of our middle school, but we're still looking hopefully by June 30th to have increased that number by finding where more of those kids went to, which were Maryland schools, private schools, sometimes a lot farther. We just connected via family with a kid who's in Alabama now, right? So we do just know there was a lot of movement in our community coming into this current school year, which is what is rating that 81.3 estimate or projection right now. But Rachel, just like you said, our other biggest goal and most important, truthfully, right now is retaining all the people we have now into next year. And then that'll be next year's number. But we want all our families back. We know the longer we keep kids in a stable educational environment, the better their outcomes are. It's just what everybody tells us. So we're working really hard, and some of our next slides will look at enrollment. So I can show you where we are right now.
And thank you, Kelly. And so right now we will be able to go before the charter, the public charter school board, to say that we met our goals outlined on this chart right now. So we met or exceeded all of them that we can count right now. So we can't talk about PARC and we can't talk about some of the things on the chart, but for what we can talk about, we've met or exceeded those goals. Now, another thing to note is that I know we had the academic team committee meeting, we had a different set of data. We initially took the math test, and then we got our results, and we decided that we know for a fact that kids know more than they showed on the math test. So we were able to retest some students to get a good accurate picture of what students know and what they were learning this school year. So I'm talking to the academic team committee members who saw something different when we met. So that's how we were able to meet the goals, because we were able to identify students who we know for sure should have scored better and retest them. Another thing to note is that we are working next school year on building relationships with students around testing. What we're finding is that students work for their teachers, and students work for me, for example. So teachers who were invested in, who had students like practicing and had students around the building telling people their math score and like making it a competition. The math scores were significantly better in those classrooms, or even like the students I retested who were able to grow like 5 and 6 points just alone, just from telling students like you're proud of them and like I'm counting on you, you can do it. And building those relationships with students around testing to normalize like how positive it can be. We have a lot of work to do around that next school year to make sure that our math data is accurate and to make sure that students are actually taking their time and working to the best of their abilities so they can show what we actually know moving forward. We tried that, and we did that for PARC to get students like excited and ready and prepared to like take the PARC assessment, and they all tested in small groups. So we're interested to see what that data comes back as, but we are going to be strategic next year about building relationships with students and making sure that every student has a relationship with the person that is going to administer their test, so that the student will actually work hard for that person, because students work hard for teachers and staff that they like. And so and I know that is not tangible. We'll be able to measure it when the PARC scores and when the math scores come back, I think, but we still are working hard towards, because we believe that that's going to move the needle when we take the test next year.
All right, guys, we are being very loquacious this morning. I may need to keep it moving to get us done at 10. I have clicked over to our governance committee because we met last week as a committee and wanted to do a share out. I've got 2 folks left that I need to do conflict of interest forms from, and I will follow up with you today again if you have not signed that or not been able to review the materials. We created a governance reference sheet that we reviewed with our governance committee. And what that is a document that is going to link for all of you all where you can find our articles of incorporation, our bylaws, our conflict of interest, our board roster. So it hopefully feels closer than it has before. The link to that document is on these slides, but we'll also send it up in kind of a wrap-up email where we send out that academic information.
Kelly, I can't see the slides. Does anyone else have that issue?
No, I can see them.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I was like, oh, look. So we're working on these reference materials for everybody in the vein of making sure everybody has as much information as possible, as easily accessible as possible. Our governance committee also talked about membership and terms. Bruce, did you want to chime in here at this point too about what we're looking for and hopefully?
Yeah, actually, just to piggyback on what you're saying is primarily to make sure that one, I think we're going to be sending out a letter to all the board members to kind of get a current status if they plan on coming back to serve. Also, I think we, I don't know if you're going to show it here, kind of the status of each and every board member's term, where they are right now, and kind of moving forward. And then also, I believe, potential open committees that are actually available that we may need to take a look at as well. Did I miss anything? I may have.
No, but I'll add on to that a little bit, Bruce. So, because I'll be sending out the letter to everyone, so please be on the lookout for that by tomorrow. And so it'll be a letter just basically, as Bruce said, asking about your recommitment to the board for your next term, as well as what committees and leadership roles you want to take on in the coming term. Just an FYI, there are 3 of us, including myself, who have reached the end of our 2 terms. And so really, we should be rolling off the board. That all that means is that we already have a vacancy from Harold, and we have a couple of vacancies that will be opening up on the board coming soon, which will lead to the next email I'll be sending, which Bruce also mentioned, that we need to recruit. And so I'll be sending a note to all of you to ask for names, potential nominees to add to the board, because we will be needing to fill some positions on the board.
Question, is it possible for us to get a common language to seek people out for these boards, like on our LinkedIn and other professional connections, like just so we're working with the same language, or are we okay to just send what we send?
Bruce, do you think you could put some language together for us to send out to our potential contacts?
I think you would do a better job than I would. Mine would probably not be as detailed as it needed to be, but we can work together on that, Vanette. Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. I'll pause if anybody has questions about governance or members, but I want to get through our last slide here. We're just kind of ending this. This is our last informational slide on here is just about our enrollment for next school year, because that is at the heart of the most important thing we have to do, which is get students in our building to be able to serve them. So our target for next year is 485. We have 346 enrolled students as of May 10th. So that's at 72% of our target. It's 5% higher than this time last year. So, we like to see growth and we like to see improvement. And we have a lot of families, I feel like, really successfully completing it more independently than they have in the past, which is also just a great sign that we've got systems that are working. 65% of current families have completed their re-enrollment, which means we still have 35% of our families to get that finished up for. This is very typical, if not better than usual. So we've got our families who do it right away and quickly, and then we've got our other ones that we kind of keep coming back to. And as a parent who also hasn't finished theirs, I understand it doesn't mean anything always, but we've started that outreach. So our enrollment team has been calling all of these families weekly, but the next step is our assistant principals and our teachers start calling all of those families too, to make sure there aren't any questions or concerns that are leading them to hesitate, but then also give them the tech support they need, because it is an entirely online platform to get themselves fully enrolled for next year. We have 48 new students also, we expect already, and we'll be likely increasing that by another 50 to hit our target between returning students and new students. So the biggest deficit we're seeing right now and concern is in pre-K 3. Our understanding is that there's a lot of saturation in the market, which is a bad phrase for kids, but is just kind of the reality of what we're seeing is there's a lot of pre-K seats open between Ward 5, Ward 7, and Ward 8. And not quite as many kids filling those seats. So that's the focus right now of our recruitment on social media, on advertising in like the Hill Rag, and we do Facebook advertising. And then we're also doing a lot of in-person events because we find that that makes especially our parents who are new to school more comfortable. So we're having a series of pre-K play dates where they're coming in and getting to meet our teachers and playing on our really nice new outdoor play space for pre-K and seeing some classrooms. So another thing, if weekdays don't work for you, on June 10th is our next one. I'll send it out. I know some of you guys have little kids too, but June 10th from 11 to 2 is our next outdoor play date. We actually have a fire truck coming from the fire department and some of our youth and safety division coming. So we've got a lot of fun for our families who come in on a Saturday morning and just play and kind of try to get comfortable here and hopefully recruit some of their friends as well. Hopefully also our good outcomes on pre-K are going to help us. So that's the good news too, right? All we're doing is growing. We've exceeded all of our outcomes from last year. And our hope is that as our program becomes more established and more well-known, we'll see a big influx in those grade levels. So without questions about enrollment, we move on to our board calendar and survey. We'll be surveying everybody again about what's convenient for them, what they liked, what they didn't like about the calendar this year. And we'll share a full calendar by July 30th. With that said, we will have a virtual meeting on June 22nd. I'll make sure everybody has links and invites out to that. It should be very quick. We will need a quorum though. And we do want people to do some pre-reading of our budget and asking questions before that June 22nd meeting, just to make sure that everyone feels comfortable and confident that they know how we're spending our money and where our priorities are. As we wrap up, do we have any other questions, lingering wonders? Please join us for events.
Okay. There are no other questions or comments. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Wonderful, thank you. Do we have a second?
A second, this is Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce. Katie, what is your vote?
Aye.
Cindy? I see aye from Cindy. Can you hear Melissa?
Aye.
Yeah.